pop up now that we are recording. Bruce is joining us, and that's great. Bruce has probably as much knowledge about this system as me. I've asked Bruce also to I'll get Bruce maybe to monitor the chat. So for those of you who haven't used Teams before, you have a menu at the top, and on the far left of all the little icons, you'll see a chat, a speech bubble. So if you were to open that, you will be able to drop questions in here. Because we don't have so many, I think we can keep this fairly loose. If you've got questions, we can probably go ask them as we go, but feel free to drop questions in there for later, or notes that you think about. Anything here. I've got some few files in here as well that we might use later, and then we'll go from there. So as we said, there's a recording. I'm going to record it so you can go back and have a look at it later on. And also any notes or anything you need, as Bruce is doing now, just ask him a question and he can help you out in the chat. So one of the first things we thought about is, where does MeOS fit with all the other options and flavors that are available? Obviously, we have OE has dominated the Victorian orienteering scene for quite a long time. And while it's been thoroughly used, and over the years, it had a lot of things that for me over the years, I just didn't find intuitive. I didn't find them easy to learn. So that was one system. And then we also had some more systems come along more recently, such as things for schools, things for smaller groups like SI Droid, which you can use against a phone. And then you also have things like the Sport Ident O app. So there are a number of software pieces out there, and there's actually quite a lot more than these ones here. But in Australia and Victoria particularly, we're really being limited to either OE or say SI Droid or some of these others. I believe that MeOS fits in between or alongside OE. So why would you choose MeOS? If you are using Sport Ident, if you have multiple classes for a course, if you want a line and a score course within the one file, if you want Eventor Connection to automatically pull and publish to Eventor, if you want any sort of advanced reporting, or you want something free, then this is the only option. If all your answers to those questions are yes, MeOS is the only option. Now, maybe some of these options here that you're not so fussed about, then there's different pieces of software out there. If you don't need score and line within the same course, you could argue that OE is just fine. If you don't need Sport Ident, then you obviously have a few other options. If you don't need advanced reporting and you're looking for something really portable, then SI Droid will be perfectly fine in a small setting, a learn to orienteer, or a little training event, no problem. But if you want something which can cover all of these things, then I believe MeOS is the right answer. Right. So what I want to do today, and I want to get stuck into now, is we're going to go through and create an event from scratch, and we're going to do it completely in the manual way. Then I want to show you how we create an event via Eventor, and just to show you the difference, and then we'll just play with some of all the features. The first thing I'll do though is to walk you through the UI, and I'm going to point out all the basic features, all the main UI things, main UI elements that you need to know. Now, I'm just going to make this a bit larger. I hope you can all see this. Right, I'll actually close down here. So when you start OE, and I'll just start it from my taskbar, this is what it looks like. This is your opening screen. So if you were to open MeOS now, this is what you should see. If you look down at the bottom, you'll see a version number here, down here. So down here. So down here, you can see what version it is. I'm just going to open up my browser. So in my browser, I will also take you to where MeOS lives. So over here at a website called mailin. And I'm going to drop this one in the chat for you. This is where you go to get MeOS. Here's their main website. So over here, it is in Swedish and English. So if it comes in Swedish, just click up on this button here to change it to English. You do not need to register or log in. You can come in here. You can read a bit here. But what you want to do is come over here to this Downloads tab. And this is where you can get the version of the software. If you were to follow the link I sent out with the OV newsletter, you will see the instructions of how to get from here and get the software onto your computer. So once you get here, you can click on the 32 or the 64-bit versions here of the latest and then get it onto your computer. Once you run through the install process, as described in the document that I have, the Word document, let me know if anyone needs that. Then what you'll do is you will end up here, and once you start MeOS, you will come into here. If you find that the very first thing it asks for is an Eventor API key, which it can the very first time, you can ignore that for the moment, but I will show you how to use that when we get to the Eventor connections. So when you come in here, you will have a lot of default, there'll be a lot of competitions in here, but everybody should have a competition in here called Testvaling, which stands for, in Swedish, test competition. So what we'll do is we'll just run you through the important parts of what this is. So on this opening page, if you have this, I'll get you to select this one. This one's from the 22nd of March, 2023, and just keep it here. Once you get here, so let's talk about this form here. This form will have all the buttons that you need for other things. If you want to have a new competition, we'll do this soon. Whether you have you want to create a new competition from Eventor, the database connection button, we're not going to worry about. The import competition, if someone sends you a competition file, you can import it here. If you have the restore, this is for restoring, but the main ones I'm interested in here is this drop down, the open, the new competition, and this one here as for new for getting started with a new competition. Also, when you start, and this is one thing which is really good, depending on the size of your monitor, you will want to make sure it fits so you can actually read what is on your screen. And this is one of my big complaints with OE. I cannot read it. So first thing you can come in here is change this to whatever works for your monitor. And it could be normal. If I go to normal on the resolution of my laptop, you can see it goes so small. So I need to go on this particular laptop to the largest setting. So make sure that this window fits within your monitor so you can see everything clearly. Right, so once you've got your settings, down here we've got some credits, but here also is your help. This help button will load up a local file. So if I press that, it will launch a browser file locally. You can see up here, it's not going out to the internet, it's just going to a file where you can get all the information you need to be able to get access to any of the features within MeOS, right? So it's all via that button there. So that's this help button here, right? Okay, let's have a look at this button here. I want to talk about a little bit. This is called the local settings within this particular, within a MeOS itself. When we come back here later, we are only going to change two things in here, and that will be for the Eventor base here. When you get this the very first time, this will be set to the Swedish Orienteering API address. So you are going to change that to this address, and I'm going to drop this down and I'm going to put it in the chat right now for later. So that's very important, because if you want to connect to the Australian Eventor, you need to be going to the right address. Right, so I'm going to drop that in there for later. And the only other thing we'll make sure, which I think they've changed a bit, is Eventor Connection. I think they've actually changed it. So that's the only thing that we're going to change once we come in here and we go to Eventor. So that's basically here. You're going to come in here and you're going to open this particular test competition. Right, so now let's look at what happens. When you open this test competition, there'll be a number of tabs across the top. I'm only interested in talking about the ones that you need to get started today. So we will look at the competition, which is here. We'll look at the competitors, who's going to be in our event. We'll look at lists, but only a couple of items within here. We will not look at anything in services. We will not look at anything in an announcer. These are all advanced. We will look at classes. We will look at courses. We will look at controls. And we will look at, obviously, sport ident there as well. Clubs and sport ident. So let's talk about each of the ones that we want to, each of the tabs here. So the competition. So obviously the name of the competition, the date the event is on, and what they call 0 time. As this label says here, you're going to put 0 time as 1 hour before the first start. So if you're starting at 11, you put this at 10. If you start at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you put this at 12 midday. Over here in the competition settings, this button we won't use very much, if at all. I will open it, but I don't think I've ever used this, and we won't need it. I'll put the club name in, but this is used if you want to take payments and you want to take other things in here. We just don't do it here in Victoria. I've never used it. We use payments in other areas. It is possible to do it, but I would consider this an advanced, and you don't need to come in here. So I'm not even going to come in here too long. This one here, MeOS features, is useful. But in here, within this particular event, so this is about this particular event that we've opened, what do we want to do? Right, do we want bibs? No. Do we want to track runners in the forest? Who is out there? Yes. Do we want several MeOS clients in a network? Do we want several computers? No. We are not interested in having this is a simple setup, so this would be a no, uncheck. Do we want announcers? No. Do we want several stages? That is like Easter 3 days, day 1, day 2, day 3? Probably not. Do we want economy, use it for registration? No. Do we want vacancies? No. So everything I'm going to turn off. I'll keep on club and run a database. Do we want forked? No. Do we want patrols? Do we want runners to be able to run several races? No. And do we want here? So here, all you really would need in this is to be able to maybe edit the clubs, to track the runners, and we would need relays as well. So that's all you would probably need for a very, very basic event. So I'll say that.
About score events here, Martin.
So All right, so that's the MeOS features here. So that's our first tab here. I might come across, first of all, before I get to competitors, I might go across to controls. Okay, so in here is a list of controls. If you are manually bringing in these, you'd have to type them in. But if you were getting an import off an XML file from Condes or from Purple Pen, all these would be populated automatically. Here's the courses tab. In here are a number of courses. So each course has a name and it has all the controls separated by commas. And that's how simple it is. All the control numbers separated by commas. Here is the length, but the only thing you need to know is give it a name, give it separated by commas, and then save it, and then you're done. And you can see here in this particular test, they have 5 different courses. If you were to import, and we will do this later, from Condes or Purple Pen, we will use this functionality to do everything for us. So that is the courses. Then we have classes. So classes can be the same as courses, and if you have a one-to-one relationship, the names of these would be the same. So in here, we have 5 different classes. And you can see it's a name, it's given a type, which is not that important, but what is important is which course is it associated to. So the same rules as which you set up an event normally, you have courses, you have classes attached to courses, and then you have competitors attached to a class. So the same thing, the same setup is for every piece of orienteering software I've ever used. So in here you have classes. In here we could have different start names and different start blocks. You might have beginners starting at start 1, and you can, but that's more advanced. I'm not going to get into this. Here we will have the status at OK, and here is how we're calculating results. In most cases, you will just have this as standard as a line course where people need to follow the line course and get a standard result. So that shouldn't have to change. And that's basically it, right? All you need is a name, what course are they using, and pretty much save. And we'll do that in a minute. Then we'll get to the competitors. So here's basically a list of competitors that are used in this course. So what does the competitor screen list look like? So we have the full list here, and you can search for anything in here by name. You can search for their SI, right? I think I can search for SI. Yes, I can search for SI. So you can use the search or Control F, and then you can search for anything in here. For each entry here, you have a name. You have the clubs, which can come out of here. You have what class. The course is connected to the class. So you can see here, if I change this person from course to course 10, it will then pick up the correct course from the class. So that's one important thing to remember. If you're ever changing anyone, you change their class and not their course. Card, this is their SI. So this is where you put in the SI, and that's where you can see it. You can see that in this particular example, this event has already been run. So you can see they were given, they had a start time, they had a finish time, there's their total elapsed time, they completed all the punches in the correct order, so their status is okay. They're currently 4th place. So down here, you have a number of buttons. So if you were to change their status, you could come in here and disqualify them or give them a did not start. You would come in here and save it. You can delete this competitor. This is also the same screen where you can create a new competitor. So if I was to come in here, I could go like this. I could put my own name in, and you can see on the right-hand side, because we are using the runner database, it is going to look in that runner database to see if I exist. So if I keep going, you can eventually see it will look up the runner database, and then I can be available here. It will find the latest time I've used my SI, and that is my correct SI. I'm going to come in here, give myself a class, and then I'm going to save, and then there I am there. Obviously, I haven't started, but that's how easy it is to add a new competitor. So we have the middle panel here, and then we have, based on the class, that whatever class you're in will correspond to the course. So course 31 has these controls. And if I go back to me, you can see, because I haven't started, that course 34 has these controls. I haven't started. Once I finish, it will then compare. So if I compare here, you can see someone had some extra punches. So that's a miss punch. We have someone here who's completed a valid course. That's the course they were supposed to be on, and these are the times of the controls. So that's what this panel is here. When you get into this panel, of course, we've got a lot of options down here to manually adjust individual times, to add and remove punches. We have a chance to reprint split times, and to even print a start certificate. So here, they're the main tabs that you'll need to know about here. I'll just go across to clubs. So this is where all the clubs are for this particular event. Because I added myself, it's automatically brought down Bayside Kangaroos into this list. And here you can manually or automatically bring in clubs based on people's entry into competitors. So we have clubs. And the last tab here, and I'll just bring this down so I can actually click it, is the sport ident. So this is where you'll connect your download control, and you will set that up, and I will show that when we do a manual event in just a moment. Right, so they're all the windows here, and now what I'm going to do is, anyone got any questions before I move away from this and go to, say, setting up a small test event? How many people are following along, who want to follow along and do it at the same time? Or how many people would like for me to just go ahead and create an event from scratch? If you put your hands up. What about, all right, put your hands up if you would like or follow along. There's a raise your hand in the window at the top. And how many people just would like me to just go ahead and create an event from scratch? Okay. All right, so if you'd like to follow along, that's great. I'll do it fairly slowly, Wendy, so that you can do it, and Janelle. So let's go. So I want, if you have Eventor now, if you have MeOS open, if you could go back, and you should be at this screen here. So first thing you're going to do.
How do you get back to it?
Tab.
Okay, so if you're in open and you're in one of these tabs, you use the close.
Okay, yep.
Down the bottom here. So in the main competition, so if you go back to the first tab down here and you click close, it will take you out to the welcome window.
Yep, thanks.
Got it? All right.
Yep.
So at the welcome window, I want everyone to go and press new competition. And in here, just give it a name. I'm going to go test MeOS. And this event for me is going to start tomorrow. And it's going to start at 10 o'clock. So I'm going to put 0 time of 09:00:00. And then I'm not going to base it on an existing competition. And I'm not going to import any entries. I'm just going to say no entries for the moment. So once you've got that, click no entries, and this should create the event. Sorry. It's now going to ask me one more thing. What sort of competition do you want to choose? And this one here, you'll use 99% of the time. So click individual competition, and you should get to here. Let me know how you went with that.
Yep, all good.
All good. All right, so the next thing I want you to do, and we're going to do this manually rather from an import. So I want you to go across to your courses. And it should be blank. Should be nothing here. So what I want you to do now, we're going to create 1, 2, or 3 courses. I'm going to click this button, new course. I'm going to call mine A, but you can call yours anything you like. I'm going to call it course A. I'm going to give course A 4 controls. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can give it a climb or a length. I'll call this 1,000 meters. And all I'm going to do is click save. When you come here, it's blank, but if you click back on the name of it, that's what it should look like.
Mm-hmm.
If you repeat the process, I'm going to do another one, B. This one is going to be 1, 2, 3. This one's 800 meters, save. I've got 2 courses. And I'll just, for good luck, I'll do another one. This one is C, and this has 1, 2. Save. So now we have 3 courses. All good so far?
Yep.
Okay. I want you to go across now to classes, because this particular event is going to have a number of classes for our courses. Again, it is blank. All I want you to do is come down to the bottom here where it says new class. I'm going to give myself a class. This one's called cat. I'm going to allocate it to course A, and I'm going to click save. That's it. I'm going to give myself another class. This one's called Tiger. It's going to use course B. I'm going to save it. I have now two classes, Cat and Tiger. I'm going to have one more. I'll have a course called Eagle. It's going to be on course C. And I'm going to do one more, and I'm going to call this a fish, whatever. It doesn't matter, whatever you want. And this one will go back to course B. So here we have an event which has multiple classes on different courses. In this case, course B has 2 different classes. So now we have courses, 3 courses. With those courses, we have 4 different classes. Right. Once you've done that, everyone okay from now? So all you're doing is keeping the defaults, standard calculations of their line courses. Everyone good? I want you to go to competitors. Once you get, we haven't got anybody in the event yet. So let's get some people in the event. Click on new competitor. Automatically comes up with a default name, competitor, whatever. I'll change the name. I'm going to call this Fred Jones. It looks for Fred Jones. If you've got the runner database connected, it will look for a Fred Jones in the runner database. I know he's not in here. He wants to go on the Eagle class, and I'm going to give him a SI stick or card number of 6532140. And then I'm going to save him. And that's it. See if you can get your first competitor in there. I'm going to add another competitor. Again, it's going to look up the runner database to see if this person exists. This time I might give them there's no clubs. I haven't added any clubs, but if I gave club ABC, it would then create a club, and then I'm going to give him a class of cat, and then his club card number is whatever, and then I'm going to save. So we now have 2 competitors. So you can keep going on. So this is a manual way of adding when you had small. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'll just get over here. Let's say you had a spreadsheet. Next in the next couple of weeks, I'll be assisting with the primary schools championships, where one of the schools, one I'm involved with, will have a lot of students, and all the entries will come in via spreadsheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can now do this in bulk. So I'm just going to go over to Copilot here. So yesterday in Copilot, I asked, can I have a sample of 50 names paired with a random 9-digit donor and a class between 1 and D? That won't quite work here because we don't have classes, the same classes. So what I'll do is I'm going to, let's see, what I might do just to make it a little bit easier. I'm just going to go and rename my classes to save. So if you want to make a change, simple, you come in here, you can change this. So now I'm going to have the same classes as courses, but that's okay. C, and then I'm going to come to fish and going to change him to D. Going to save that. All right. So now what I'll do is I'm going to go back to Copilot. Oops. I'll just go to Copilot here, and I'm going to grab all these. So from a spreadsheet or from any list that you have, I'm going to copy this. So I've got 50 names here with a 9-digit number, a class of ABCD, and a club. Right. So what you can do in the competitors here, there's not only the form mode, but if you look up the top here, we've got something called a table mode. So if you click on table mode, you can see that the entries we've done are here in a table. So what we can now do is, what we can do is use this to populate things very quickly. Over here, you have a little toolbar that can move around. What I'm just going to do here is, once you click on the and I'll do that again. If you click on the very first option, is choose which columns to show here. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to remove all the columns I'm not interested in. I'm not interested in race ID, entry time, start time. I am interested in the club, not the course, but I am interested in the class and the name. So I'm now down to here. So I just want to check which order I've got them in. So I've got name, card, class, name, and this one actually doesn't have. All right, so I'm going to move name, card, class. All right, so I've got my 2 entries. If you go scroll across here to this entry here, I can paste from the clipboard. So I should have 50 in my clipboard. If I was to click this, I'm hoping I'm going to get 50 entries. Or 49. Do I want to paste? So all of a sudden now, I now have 50 more entries in one click. So if I now go back to my form mode, you can now see I have all those entries. So if you have a spreadsheet, you don't need to manually type one by one these in here. You can use the copy and paste functionality of the table mode to get in a bulk load of entries in here. And if you have more fields, you can come and select them. So I could now select a few more columns to see what it looks like, but we're not using any of those. So in the competitors, remember, you have two modes. You have an individual mode to be able to add individual entries, or if you need to do something in bulk through copy and paste, you can do it here. In a minute, we're going to show you how we're going to get these in via Eventor, right? Which will import entries in a different way. But I just wanted to show you that for a manual event not using Eventor, there are a number of different ways to get in a lot of entries in without a lot of effort. So now we have all these entries here, and if you can click on here with the class, because it's imported the class, you can see that they've all been ready to go and allocated. So, right. So what's next? So this is probably the part where you're at home and you have either set up your event and you're now taking this on site, or you're at the event and you're adding enter on the day people and you're about to start. So the very next thing is, what do we want to do? I will take you to lists here. If you come into lists, there's a couple of lists. So this, and I haven't shown you lists yet. So lists is where we get reports. So for the moment, these are probably the only two lists you might be interested in. So individual. Okay, so there was one competitor in here that I would need to fix, but anyway, you can see a start list here. In MeOS, you always use return or cancel to go back. Again, the individual start list. So here, you can now print this out. You can print it to PDF. You can print it as and send it to people. You can print it to a printer. You can put it on a different window. So there's your start list. If you wanted to do this by clubs, and these are all the clubs that we imported, you could have that. So for the Victorian Schools Championships, we'll use that to send each of these to the schools and they'll verify. So these two here. Once the event gets started, we'll look at this result, and we'll also look at this one here, which is called Competitors in Forest, which is who's still out there. So there's our start list. So we know who's starting. You're at the event. You're taking enters on the day by adding new competitors in here and building up your list. Here, finally, we're at the event, and what we want to do, and I'll drop this down again, we're going to set up our connection to the download. I have a download control here with me, and I'm going to plug it in. So when you plug this in, and you plug this into a USB, I'm plugging it into a dock. Probably heard that. So it's now we have a download control in here. First time, you might want to use this to try and find whatever COM port it's using. But all you need to do once it has it is to click this button called Activate. It starts to look for this download control. I'll just give it another go because the COM port might have changed. And you can see now it didn't like, it couldn't find anything on COM port 7. That obviously changed. So we changed to COM port 8. And you can see now that COM port 8, so my download control is ready. You can see the button here has gone from connect to disconnect, and it's ready to take download controls. In here, there are a number of functions and what this download control will do. And I will talk about these a little bit. The default one is the one you're going to use in most situations. This is where runners come back and you want to see what their results are. We do have other options in here. One might be to assign rental cards. So if your club has a set of rental cards, you can come in here and program them so that when a competitor comes back in here and they've got a rental card, so for instance, if this was a rental card, it would be ticked as hired and it would give a different sound so that you knew that you had to collect those controls when you came back. So you have assign rental cards. You can count the rental cards at the end of an event. You can register the rental card. So here, or you can just, and this one here I'll use now is to print out some data. So obviously I haven't got all the controls here. I don't have any controls here other than the download, but I just wanted to show you what you would see. So I've put this into a mode called just print whatever is on the stick. So I'm just going to put this into the download control. And here it's basically going to read whatever it is on the stick here. So here, this is an event from one of the summer shorts just a few days ago, and it's printed this out here. So that's the download control working. In most situations, if you are coming in here, and what I'll do over here, if you can see for me, and I'm going to put this stick in a minute. And what am I? Back on. All right, so I'll add, because I haven't added myself here, so I'm just going to add myself. There's my stick. I'll go on course A, doesn't matter, save here. So if I'm a runner coming back now, I'm on this course. Obviously, the stick I've got here is not going to correspond, so I'll just change over to Sport Ident. So this is the normal mode you're going to have when you're running an event. You'll probably have this window open. And we have a couple of options here. What you will do is before the event, you also set your printer. In most cases, we will use the Epson receipt printer. So that would be set here. So like that, we would set like that. And that's good for the Epson printer. I won't print automatically because I don't have that printer with me, and that would cause a problem. But this would print the splits out automatically. This little checkbox here called interactive readout. I think for smaller events you're going to have this on. What this will do is it will give you options if there are any problems. Problems such as people are allocated to the wrong class, people have the wrong SI stick, then you have the options to fix these right here. The other option is if you turn this off, all these problems has to be fixed later. So at big events, you might have a second computer which is going to fix problems of classes, SI sticks, different maps or whatever. So for small events, I would keep it on because you can manage a smaller amount. And I think anywhere between 50 up to 50, you probably manage even up to 100. Anything over 100, that's when you might have a second station handling different problems. So I'll come in here and I will complete my course. All right, so it's had a look and it said, hang on, I only got 3 controls. So obviously I didn't do it very well. So you can come over here. So if we come into the competitor screens to see what happened, it was expecting me to do 1, 2, 3, and 4. It got a start and a finish, and I've got all these extra punches. So what's happened is it's found my start, it's found a finish, it's given me a time, but because I haven't completed an order, it's automatically allocated me as a missed punch. So from here, you would keep it as is. If you wanted to remove all these or whatever, you could come in here and fix some of these. But I would say for the majority of cases, you are just going to mispunch most people, and then they'll just move on. So if we go from here, you can see that the statuses will go from okay, not started, and yeah, they're mainly the missed starts here. If you have someone who doesn't start for the day, and there's a couple of ways to do that, you might come in here and DNS them. So as you're going along, you'll be staying in the sport ident, and then people will be coming in and they'll be finishing and then be allocated in here, and you can always come back in here and check. So this list will build up. If there are any problems, you can attempt to fix them here, or you can fix them later. But that's all you need to do, and just let this list keep coming. So as you're going along and you're getting towards the end of your the event, you might then come in here and see who's remaining, who's still left out there. So in the list here, you can get to this report as well. I'll also show you results. You can see that a couple of people were finished, so you can get the results. You can print them. You can print them to a printer, to a web document, to a PDF. You can actually print them to the person who comes in. If you have a second TV, you can put that on the screen as they come in. And so you have results. And then as more and more people come in here, you can see who's still left out there. One of the things we do at Bayside is that we use this manage remaining runners, where you can import the punches from, say, a clear control or a start control or a check control, and then it will automatically compare who should have started against people who actually did start. So that's basically it for setting up a manual event. So you'll have so you've set up your course, your classes, you've got your competitors, you come over to Sport Ident, you connect your download, people come in, they either complete their course, they mispunch, then you're checking your lists, you're coming back, you've got your results, you're checking who's out there, and then finally you're finalizing your event. So in competitors, in your competitors here, if people don't start, you can manually change their statuses from mispunch to nothing, to disqualified, to did not finish, to did not start. So you can change any of the statuses here until you've got everybody accounted for. So that's pretty much it. That's how you'd set up a manual event that's not connected to Eventor. Does anyone have any questions related to setting up, say, this particular manual event, which is probably a smaller event, not connected to Eventor? Is there anything I've gone too fast? I don't know how Bruce is going in the chat, but if there's anything you want me to go over, I am now going to the next stage. Now I'm going to show you how we set up an event from Eventor. If it's all good, I'll keep going. Yep.
Martin, I've just got a couple of questions about printers.
Sure.
Do you use a Bluetooth printer or a USB connected printer?
Currently, we are using a USB printer. So that is connected, but there's no reason why you can't come in here and use a Bluetooth printer. It would be a matter of coming in here, finding the Bluetooth printer, and then making sure when you came in here to the Sport Ident here, you came in here, printer settings, and then it should be listed as one of the printers here.
Okay. Yep.
So there should not be any problem with connecting a Bluetooth printer.
Cool.
What I'll do is I'll do a bit of homework to make sure I do have a Bluetooth printer, that it has worked. We often use it for the SI Droid system, but we do have a USB one. So I'd rather rely on a wired connection than a wireless connection if I have the choice.
Yeah, I've had trouble with the Sport Ident getting the right driver to get it to work and connect sometimes. So
drivers are always the tricky thing, but the printer is connecting the printer to Windows is more a problem. It's not so much a MeOS problem. So that's something we can do through Windows. I know that at the primary schools champs coming up, we are also attempting to use Bluetooth printers. So we are also having to look to make sure that's going to be working as well.
Mm-hmm. So could you forward the USB type of printer you guys use?
Absolutely.
I
can let you know what they are. And I might do a little video on how to connect some of those the Bluetooth printers as well.
Okay, that'd be great.
So that you can, it's more a Windows setup and how some of those printers pair to Windows, which can be the trickier part. Once it's a part of Windows, then it should be freely available as part of the printer settings in here.
I think that's right. Let's start.
Because
Android's easy. Yeah, Android's easy. The tablets are the computers are the harder bit to
Okay. So it's important that the printer you're using does have a Windows driver for the operating system that you're running. So if you're running Windows 10, we'd want to know that it had a driver that was compatible. So that could be the problem there. But I'll talk to you about that individually.
Yep, no, that's great. Thanks.
All right. Anyone else got any questions before I now go and set up our next event?
Yes, well, I think I'm going to have to get some instructions from you, Martin, regarding which version of MeOS I have to download. So I'm just sitting and listening.
Sure, no problem at all. Just in regards to the versions, you may hear along the traps about an Australian version. There is an Australian version which has been branched off of the main MeOS version. That's because there's a group in Sydney who are running some special series, and someone there has done some coding that allows them to do it. For me personally, I don't need to get access to that particular version. I don't need that Sydney Summer Series in mine. So I tend to use the standard version that Bruce has listed in chat. The latest version is 4.0 with update 3. Look, and most people should be able to use the 64-bit version. You'll see in the top latest version, there are 2 options. It won't really matter. Most people, I guess, will have the latest version of Windows. So I wouldn't expect that you have any problems with the 64-bit. But either one of those 2 versions should work. If you have any problems, please let me know. So down here, you can see version 4. This is the 64-bit version, and this is update 3 from the 9th of September this particular year. So if you ever go on to the MeOS, to the GitHub page itself, you can come in here. So in here is where the code actually lives, in a GitHub resource called MeOnsoft. And in here, you can come in here, and if you have an account, you can actually see all the issues that are being addressed. So the code is updated on a regular basis. Remember, it's open source and free, but it gets a lot a lot of requests from people, and the developer is good. You can actually see Bruce, even myself and Bruce have put in things that we request, and you can see the status of what's going on with some of the things that we would like. So
Is there
it is active and it's free. So, but it is actively maintained and updated. All right.
Is there an advantage of having the Oz version because it automatically links to the Australian database of competitors?
No, not at all. So that was my initial thought originally, that only the Australian version would link to the Australian Eventor version, but that is not in fact the case. So the only thing you need to do by getting the standard version is making sure when you come into and I'll just close this event, you come into the local features that you must update this to the Australian API address. So that's the one I've dropped in the chat. So the very first thing you're going to do is in your MeOS is change this from the Swedish. And I remember the first time I did this, I had it in there and I could not get the Eventor connection to work for about 2 days. And then I finally worked out, because I changed everything, but I didn't notice that the orienteering spelling in Sweden is E-R-I-N-G, and I needed to have double E-R-I-N-G. So for a spelling mistake, it took me 2 days to work out why my Eventor connection didn't work. But no, you can use the standard base model to connect to Eventor as long as you change this here. All right.
Does it connect into the database of the Australian
you mean
competitors?
the runner database?
Yeah, the runner database.
Okay, so the runner database is updated as people publish results. So what happens is if I go to an event and I add entries and I update existing entries and change SI, once the results are published, then the runner database is updated, and then I have the option to download that runner database so that I have the latest information. From what I can see, that runner database is across the world. And when I show you, when I'm about to connect to an Eventor, in a minute, you can see it does take a little bit of time for it to come in because, there are just so many entries. Okay. All right. So with that, what I'm going to do now, because I can see it's 8:30, I'd like to go and do that now. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go over to the correct browser. That'll help. I'm going into Eventor here, and I've logged in as Eventor. Now, for your club to connect to Eventor via MeOS, you need what is called an API key. So we need MeOS set up with the correct parameter, and we need this API key. This API key is only available to people who are administrators on your Eventor account, and that won't be everyone. If you are an administrator, you will see when you log in, you will get access to this link here, which is administration. Anyone else does not see this particular button or link. And I here, as you can see, I am a member, I'm an administrator of the Bayside Kangaroos. So if I click on here and you are an administrator, you will come in here, and the very first thing it does is come in here, and I won't keep this up too long. You will see down here, there is an API key for Bayside Kangaroos. So what you want to do, and I don't want everybody taking our key, but you will have your own key. You are going to copy that key, and then you are going to put that into MeOS. So speak to your club rep and ask them to send you the API key so you can put it in MeOS. Right. So let's go to the event and let's see. So today is the 8th. So I put in, here's our event I created today, and we have 10 entries. So I just put in some random people. Thanks, Ewan, for volunteering your name. So we're going to link to here. So there's our entries. We have our classes, our clubs, and we're going to, and this is what we're going to pull in. So I'm going back to MeOS. So in here, we're going to have a competition from Eventor. Now, the very first time you do this, and I've already set this up, but for people who haven't set this up, it will probably ask you to enter the API key. So for me, because I've already set this up, it should connect automatically to here. If anyone else can confirm if they click on that, it asks for the API key. I'm pretty sure that's what it's going to do. Because I've entered my API key, right, this is what you should see if you're very first time, enter the key. Right, so Eventor competition, because I've already entered it and set it up with the correct address, here is, I'm going to talk you through this window. The API key knows it's with Bayside Kangaroos. So in the drop-down list, it can find every single event that is listed against Bayside Kangaroos. So here, it's also asking, do you want to get an updated runner database? So you can take yes or no, including the clubs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to November, here, the MeOS training here, and that's the event I want to import. So I will take the runner database because I want to show you it does take just a little bit more time to grab all that. So all I'm going to do now is click next. And it's going to ask me just a few more questions. So when do I want to start this? I'll manage to start draw here, single stage. I don't really care anything about this. When are we going to start the normal entries? And it's going to ask me whether I want to import my courses. Now I could do this now. So if I went into chat here and I've got a couple of files up here, one is going to be my courses. So I could do this now or do this later, but I'll do that. I'll import the courses later. So I'm just going to fetch the data from Eventor. So now it goes to Eventor, connects out to the internet. It's found the competition. It's got the classes. It's got the entries. It's got the club. Now it's trying to get the runner database. I know that this runner database has probably 40,000 entries. So I believe this is from all over the world. So this is the first time, every time it connects here, it will go and just take a little bit of time to do this. You can uncheck that you want the runner database. But if it's been a while and you want to get everyone's updated SIs from other events that use MeOS, then you would click you want to get the updated. So this will take probably 20 to 30 seconds just to download the entire runner database. And then ultimately, I'm looking for about 10 entries. You can see at the top here, MeOS is saying it's not responding. It's only because it's working hard to try and get the runner database and then populate those. So again, I'll just give it a little bit more time to let this come in. So what you can do, if you're not interested in the runner database, you can just turn that off and just bring in your competition entries. But I did want to test this just to see how long it would take over the network, and particularly seeing I'm running a video stream here. So hopefully this doesn't take too much longer. In the meantime, if anyone has any questions, let me know. So again, speak to your club reps about getting the API key so that you can connect, because one of the things we'll do with also is once we publish, it is a one button press to then publish the results once we finish. So obviously the alternative way of doing getting data out of Eventor is you can manually export the competitors, the classes, and the competitors, classes, and the clubs, and then import them into MeOS this way. I hope this hasn't locked up.
Mm-hmm.
Give it another little bit. It's taking a bit longer than normal.
It can take a very long time sometimes, Martin.
It can take a long time. That's why I'm loath to let it. I'm loath to cancel at this point. I will let it go just a little bit more. It probably doesn't help that I'm on a video call here, so I'll just let this go for a little bit longer. I'll just go back to my here. So what we're expecting when this does finish is that we have these 10 entries. Okay, and it has finished now. Okay, so here, so it fetched the runner database. It read the clubs. It actually imported. It updated 472 items in the runner database. So the total number of items in that runner database, and that's why it took so long, is 23,739. Ignore some duplicates. But here's what we're looking for. It imported our 4 classes and it imported our 10 entries. So we can go here and it'll show us our start list in the list. If I come back here now, let's go to the competitors. You can see it's imported all the competitors, all their classes, their stick numbers. If we go over to classes, it's got the classes here. All right, so in here, so we've got our classes and our courses from Eventor. So the next thing will be, let's get, so what I did do is I made a little, just a quick sample little event here with these four courses, including a score course. So I put these in here if anyone wants these. I'm going to download. I'll just download. So I've already got this. So what I might do is I'm going to put this over here. Okay, so I'm going to go to my courses now and I'm going to import this, browse. And I've got my training course data here. So this is from Condes. I'm going to open that up. It says update the classes. So I'm going to import. And now it's imported these 4 courses. So straight out of Condes in here, it's imported all of this. Back to MeOS, you can see here's our 4. So we have, in this case, we have 3 line courses.
Did you turn on row gaining?
And this one has turned on row gaining. So what we've got here is a score course. So what we'll need to do in here is I'm just going to come over here and turn on what they call here, they call it row gaining. So here's our line course A, our line course B, our line course C, and you can see we've got a row gain course here, which is a score course with all the points values here. So this is where you can do line courses and score courses within the same event. Line courses. So if I go back now to my classes, A, B, C, and D, if I wanted to, our next job, of course, here is we need to connect our classes to our courses. So from A, all I'm going to do is go, okay, A is using A, B is using B, C is using C, make sure I save. D is using, I'm going to use D is going to be a score course. And I'm going to give this a collect points and I'm going to save. So the only difference here is these, like we did in our manual, are all going to use a standard calculation. But the D, which is going to use the score course, is going to collect points. So here, if we come in here, you can see now that B is connecting to B, C is connecting to C, but if we had a competitor on the day, and this person was going to go on D, which is the score course, and we'll give them a card, you can see now over here, this is a score course with the number of points that you're going to get for each here. Again, I'll go to Angie. She's a line course because she's on a standard calculation. But this person here is going to be on a row gaining course or a score course. And that's how we can handle score courses and line courses within the same event. So same as what we did before. That's how you can bring your entries in from Eventor and set them up. Same process. You can bring in the competitors, you can bring in the classes, you will import in your courses from Condes or Purple Pen or do them manually. If you want to do a score course, you can just allocate them in here and give this particular course a time limit. If you want it to be 2 hours, you can give them 2 hours with point penalties. You want to give them a point penalty here, then they have a point penalty per minute. You have a time limit or a point penalty. So there's your score course, right? So as per normal, you'll come into here and you're going to connect your sport ident. You're going to complete let's drop this window down. You have to add your SI stick. You're going to complete all your competitors. You're going to check your runners in the forest here. You're going to DNS people who don't come in. So what we can do for the DNSs is with this download control here, we can get a clear, check, and a start control. And what you do is that you put one of those controls on top of the download control using one of the ferrite rods. You turn it upside down so it connects. You'll click remote here. You'll click backup. It'll download all the punches and then they'll save them into a CSV file on your desktop or somewhere of all those sport ident controls. And what you can then do, once you've got the file, you can then come in here and then you can import these. So you import all that, and what it will do is it will match all the runners that have started or cleared or checked against who who is left out there, and it will tell you who are the remaining DNSs. So in that way, you don't need to go to Rego and go, oh, did someone start today? Did someone? You can just use any of the other controls to determine, did people actually start today, so that you're not waiting for people, or you're not worried about people who potentially didn't come back, and then you can follow up with phone numbers or whatever. So that's a good way to manage, especially when you have a large number, to be able to manage remaining runners. So once you've done that and you've come up here into your list and you've been running results, you've checked all your competitors, finally, when you want to come and finish your event, what you can then do is come back here, and once you actually have all your results, once you have results finished, you can basically push this button here, and it will publish all your results back to Eventor automatically. There's nothing else to do. It's one button. Then, if you find you have to make some changes because people didn't like, they're in the wrong club or whatever happened with their result, you just come back here, you come back into the Eventor connection, and you can republish the results and it'll override it. So that's a time saver rather than, and you can still do it the manual way. You can export the results out into a file, import them into Eventor, but certainly this one button click of Eventor downloading and uploading is a very big time saver that we really like, and we really think does a great job. All right, I know I've gone pretty quickly, but does anyone have any questions relating to, say, Eventor, connecting to MeOS, any things they're not sure of? The key things are the API key and making sure in the competition local settings here that you update this address here through this change button.
Martin, do you have to do a save or a backup as you go along, or does it automatically save so you don't lose your data?
It won't automatically. There is the possibility to save as you go along. So one of the things you could do is in here, in services here, you have what's called a interval backup here.
Yep.
So what you could do, and if you had a USB stick, let's say, because it's no good saving to your hard drive if your hard drive goes, you could save to the local computer as well if you wanted to. But what you could do here is you could create a service called backup here, and what it's going to do every 10 minutes here, you could then here, and then you could save this out to a USB, right? You could save that to, I don't know, here. I don't have a USB on me here, and this here is save it to a folder, and it would then save this event every, say, 10 minutes or every 5 minutes or every 1 minute if you wanted to do that. So that is possible to do that.
Or even a Dropbox folder, so you've got access.
You could have that into a Dropbox, into a OneDrive, whatever you like. So I haven't got into the nuts and bolts of this particular window of services. A bit more advanced. There are some of the things I do like in here. One of the things I like here is to be able to take entries via the iPad. So I find that really can be good for registration. So you can have this what's called information, and you can actually allow entries via a network. So what you would have to do, and what we do at Bayside, is we set up a little router so that this computer, the main computer, connects to the router, and then we can add a phone or a tablet. And then what you can do is, if I go back to I'll just cancel for the moment. If I go to my classes here, and I'm in the test event at the moment, but that's fine. You can come in here and allow quick entry for this class, and maybe I'll allow it for this class here and save. And then if I come in here to services and I go information service allow quick entry, I'll just call it entry here, and I start that. If you see this address there, and I'll take, say, this one here, it actually launches here. It launches this. So imagine you're on a phone or on a tablet somewhere else. Obviously, I'm on my local desktop router here. What you can do is click on here, and I can actually enter people via here. So I might take Bruce.
Mm.
Oh, you probably not. I'll go, let's do, so I can do Dandenong Rangers. It'll pick up all the clubs, and I could go, say, Ian Dodd, and there's his number, and there's my entries here, and I could enter him here. So that comes in here, and if I went back to competitors now, and I went Ian, and then there he is.
Yep.
Right. So it allows you then to say, especially on, say, a Melbush, when you have, 50 or 60 enter on the days, all standing in a queue, you could potentially have people with iPads or phones walking up and down the queue, entering people there, rather than having to have this paper form, which then has to come to the person who's trying to enter it into the computer. So that's one of the things we really like. It's sort of only applicable for bigger events, probably Melbushes, where you've got a lot of enter on the days. If you have a big champs, 99% of people are evented by Eventor. So pulling them down by Eventor, and then you might just have a handful who enter on the day, you're better off probably just coming in here and just entering the new competitor, adding their class, adding their hire stick, and saving. So there are some good things here. I'm happy to run another session at a later time about some of the more advanced things, some of the things we do at Bayside. We have our own custom lists. So custom lists allow you to create custom reports. So in here, you can have a lot of reports. So we've created a custom report. So if we have a look at this is for our screens, right? And you think, oh, this is how we create our screens. We set up some formatting here on it, and then we send this on a schedule so that our screens can pick them up and display them. So there's some of the more advanced things that you can do, but you can get the reports looking exactly as you like them here. So custom reports, there's a lot of advanced things that can be done. How to set it up if you want to have multiple clients, that is multiple computers accessing the same data, which is different to quick entry. Quick entry is just an iPad or phone adding things in here. A true client server is by using what we call the database connection here, where you can have a number of different computers. And this is what they do at some of the bigger events. Western Australia, AusChamps last year had a number of computers all using MeOS via the database connection. So that's how they do it. But really, unless you're running an event of hundreds of people, then it's probably not necessary. I mean, I'm in two minds as whether we'll even use this for the primary schools in a couple of weeks, which will probably have 250 entries. So, there's just some of the more advanced things. So the advanced things are whether you want database, whether you want to use some of the advanced lists and create your own custom lists, whether you want to have continual backups, when you want to print results automatically, all these split things, some of the announcer things that you want to do if you want to have announcers. But yeah, there's that's probably the main things I wanted to get through today, to give everyone the confidence to be able to set up an event very easily, whether it's just manually or whether it's via Eventor. And yeah, just get your confidence. And you've got a lot of test events in here. Just come in here, select one, play with it, delete people, add people, see what you like, try and get access to your Eventor key, have a play, see how that works. And I think you'll find that it's intuitive. And once you get used to it, you'll find that it's to be honest, I just can't go back to having it as it's my choice. I can use OE if I want to, but I would prefer to live in here because I know it more. I understand that it's a learning curve for everybody, and you're going to use what you're familiar with. But here's a no-cost option for you to try here. It's open source, maintained. You can play with it, and you can just see if it suits your needs. So I'm happy to open the floor to any questions. I know we're a minute away from finishing, but I'm happy to stay on for a little bit longer. If anyone has any questions or they want me to show anything, I'm happy to do it.
Well, that's good, Martin. I'll get some time to download the program, and I'll have a play. So I might leave it there because we've got an early start in the morning, but thanks very much. No problem.
If anyone has any problems downloading and getting installed, please let me know. I'm happy to jump on and help. And any questions, please fire away. My address, the Bayside, just use my Bayside address, webmaster@bkv.org.au. Anything you need to know in relation to MeOS, let me know. If I don't know, there are people out there who do. Bayside will be continuing to use this in the future. Thanks, everybody, for joining. If there's no further questions, I'll stop the recording. And thank you very much for your attendance. This recording will be available for anyone who wants.